So Ron DeSantis given a little press conference in Florida, and he was asked about recent comments that one California governor, Gavin Newsom, made. By the way, I'm. What do you think about this? I refer to him as Patrick Bateman.
Who Gavin Newsom?
Yeah, do you get the reference?
No, no.
Patrick Bateman from American Psycho, played
Oh,
by
okay.
play. Yes.
Well, that works a little bit. Yeah, that works.
Yeah, I mean he's got the look.
Well, yeah, his slick back. You know,
He has a similar record to Patrick Bateman, I think.
what, killing stuff.
Anyway, California Governor Gavin Newsom made comments that he would agree to a hypothetical debate with DeSantis as moderated by not Christian Bale, but Sean Hannity. And Ron DeSantis responding to that prospect saying this.
You know, it's interesting. He's got huge problems in his state. I mean, like, huge problems in his state. We all know that. I mean, you see it in San Francisco. You see it in L.A. You see it in the people fleeing. California, from its inception, gained population every single year until he became governor. I mean, California was probably the height of opportunity for middle-class Americans for many, many decades in this country. No one would leave there. You know, you would go. People were drawn to there. And yet, he's the first governor that's overseen a massive exodus out of California. And, you know, you can kind of understand if somebody comes from Minnesota and moves to Naples, better winters, all this stuff. But if you're leaving, like, Southern California to move to, like, Jacksonville, which is a great place, you're not doing it because of the weather, because they probably have the best weather in the country. You're doing it because the place is so mismanaged and ill-governed that you just can't take it anymore. And yet with all those problems, he has a real serious fixation on the state of Florida. I mean, I think it's just bizarre that he does that. But what I would tell him is, you know what? Stop pussyfooting around. Are you going to throw your hat in the ring and challenge Joe? Are you going to get in and do it, or are you just going to sit on the sidelines and chirp? So why don't you throw your hat in the ring, and then we'll go ahead and talk about what's happening. So
it's interesting. You know, the Wall Street Journal editorial board is clamoring for a DeSantis-Newsom argument about the California versus Florida model of governance and which should be scaled nationally. I think the California model has been what's largely been scaled nationally to date, but that's why they want the debate. And frankly, in the interest of both DeSantis and Newsom, that debate would be at least a storyline that some people may pay attention to that is not Trump related. Looking for a candidate to run for, is Newsom his huckleberry? Let's put that question to our friend Bret Baier, host of Fox News Special Report, best-selling author of To Rescue the Republic, Ulysses S. Grant, The Fragile Union, and The Crisis of 1876. Bret, thanks for joining us. What about this DeSantis-Newsom prospect, or even if it's Newsom is just a stalking horse, DeSantis trying to do something to talk about anything but Trump?
Yeah, good morning. I think that's true. I think it fits his campaign. Obviously, the Wall Street Journal would like the big issues to be focused on instead of the day-to-day about what's new with the indictment or the indictment to come or the pushback on the indictment. So, yes, I think that fits DeSantis' campaign. I think Newsom has long tried to make a statement about going to red states and saying how his ideology could win. And to DeSantis' point, I mean, if he is true about that, if he's real about that, he should throw his hat in the ring.
Yeah, right.
But he's not, at least yet.
With respect to DeSantis, we had Gingrich on the show, Newt Gingrich, you may have heard of him, on the show yesterday, and he said, look, barring a health issue, I just don't see how there is going to be any air between now and Iowa caucus, New Hampshire primary, South Carolina, so the early stages of the race for anybody else. All you've done is solidify the loyalty that people have and now feel duty bound to adhere to with respect to Trump with these indictments, and we still may have maybe one or two indictments to go. What do you think?
Yeah. So I do think, I mean, the former speaker is probably correct that the conventional wisdom is that, time will drag on here. These things are not going to come to a conclusion before the election in November of 24.
Right.
And I think people lose perspective of that. I mean, there'll be pretrial motions and all kinds of things. So we're kind of in limbo legally on resolution of all of this. So, yeah, I think the going bet is that that's going to happen on the GOP side, but there's a lot of time. And, there will be candidates who get some traction with, we like the policies of the Trump administration, but we don't like the chaos. I think that will sell, and whether it's in early states or somehow on a debate stage, there is time. On the Democratic side, it's the early stages, but the concern in some quarters of the Democratic circles is it's the early stages of something that is raising concern among the party.
Is there any more scuttlebutt on the other side? Is it ratcheting up at all about contingency plans for Biden?
Yeah, but the biggest hurdle is for the party is if you just say, okay, he's not going to run, and he's going to pull Lyndon Johnson and say it's time for me to step aside. You can't then get over Kamala Harris in the Democratic Party. I mean, for a party that really values and talks about diversity, and that is a big part of its pitch, the first African-American vice president is not going to get just suddenly tossed aside. And her numbers are worse than Biden's.
Yeah, and I mean, it behooves all the candidates on the Republican side to stay in the race, at least until you get the debates going, which gives them some opportunity potentially to go toe-to-toe and try to crystallize the race as one of them being the alternative to Trump, maybe a couple of them. But if that doesn't happen, I mean, if we are in October, where we are today in June, in terms of the distribution of support, perhaps there's a move a la the move the Dems made against Bernie to get people out of the race and consolidate around a challenger?
I would guess. I didn't think there were going to be this many. I really didn't. I thought we were going to be shy of the 2016 numbers. But, I think we're at 12 now. I think that's capped. But, all those people have to make the stage in Milwaukee. The RNC's already set the guidelines for that. So we'll see how many do. I do think that, the party will probably want as few as possible heading into the spring, and that there will be probably one or two alternatives that head into those primaries.
I think, Brett, this is Charles Thomas, that certainly Joe Biden's age is in play here when it comes to what Gavin Newsom might be thinking as he moves forward with his rhetoric.
I agree, and I think it's a hedge here. He's there's no downside to saying I support President Biden, but he doesn't do Sean Hannity's show if there's not other ambitions. He doesn't go to the border and say Democrats need to pay attention to this issue if there aren't other things afoot. And I think everyone sees it. It's just a matter of the mechanics of right now. Everyone is circling wagons around Biden.
Yeah, they're like vultures. Around the guy because they know that this guy could basically leave the scene at any moment, either through health or worse.
Watch the activity around the French Laundry. Then you'll know Newsom might be moving into something. So should we file a missing persons report on Robert Hur? Has anybody seen him? Does he actually exist? Robert Hur. Jonathan Turley is asking this question, too. This guy's 6 months into the job, and they're still talking about how they're going to negotiate with Biden for an interview. Where are the questions about Robert Hur and what the hell he's doing with respect to his investigation of Biden's handling of classified information?
It's really, truly amazing. It seems like it's cut and dry, or at least part of it is, and you've got to get your head around something. I would think that in the wake of these charges that we just saw this past week, that there's probably a little bit of pressure on him to come up with something or an explanation or something. But we have not heard. And we haven't also heard from the U.S. Attorney in Delaware, who has been working on the Hunter Biden investigation for 5.5 years.
I mean, is it just, when you or Fox reporters ask DOJ about these individuals or ask these individuals, they have, one's a U.S. attorney, so he's got an office. The other's a special counsel, so he's got some kind of setup. Do they just do you go to the office and there's nothing there, or do their phones are disconnected? How is it we can't track these people down?
No, they just don't return, calls. We're the only ones calling.
Yeah, well, there you go.
There's not a lot of other interest.
Right, yeah, well, that too. All right, well, but yeah, we're waiting with bated breath for somebody to track them down, corner them at a Starbucks or something. It's maybe the FBI should investigate whether or not they've gone missing. That give them something to do. Bret Baier, host of Fox News Special Report, 5 p.m. weekdays, best-selling author of To Rescue the Republic. Thanks, Bret. We appreciate it.
You bet. I've got a big Trump interview on Monday.
Oh, yeah, we'll look forward to that. That's right. All right, very good. Bret Baier, join us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
Think back to a time when you were doing a physically demanding activity and you wanted to keep going, but you just didn't have the energy to. Having the right nutrition can make a huge difference between energy and long-lasting energy. That's why it's so important to nourish our bodies with the right kind of fuel, and there's no better way of doing that than with fruits and vegetables. You can get the benefits of 31 whole fruits and vegetables by taking a few capsules of Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies. Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer. That's 1-800-246